Okay, so this has got to be like take five or take six already. I messed up reading my little script here so many times. Either that or I was distracted or any number of things. But anyway, this episode is going to be about Alice Cooper, the shock rock icon. So Alice Cooper was born in 1948 as Vincent Damon Furnier in Detroit, Michigan. So he is a fellow Michigander. So how about that? And there are a lot of quirky little facts about him. Some of them are pretty well known, of course. And I'm not really going to dig that deep and find too many shocking or surprising details about his life. But, like some things are interesting, like, he's a born again Christian type. And I'm surprised he never released a box set titled The Gospel According to Alice Cooper or anything like that. But, he has religious beliefs and values that some might think clash with his onstage persona. And in fact, in an interesting way, that's almost how the band's name got started at first. In 1968, the band was originally called Nas, which is kind of strange. I don't really know what that means. But interestingly enough, Todd Rundgren also had a band called Nas. So their band had to change their name, and they ultimately settled on Alice Cooper. That was chosen because they thought it would sound wholesome and ironically clash with their onstage personas. And they also knew that socially conservative critics would lambaste the perceived poor quality of the band and its supposed bad influence on youth culture and all that kind of stuff. And the look of Alice Cooper was inspired by Vincent's professional and personal relationship with another Frank Zappa signed act, the GTOs, an all female band who dressed Alice Cooper up, and apparently some elements of that look would stick with the band and really help um, determine their direction in terms of aesthetics. So Alice Cooper released their 1969 debut album on Frank Zappa's Straight Records label with limited chart success. So they weren't a rip roaring success right out the gate, but they stuck with it. And, over the years, they really built up their on-stage craziness with props like pyrotechnics, guillotines, electric chairs, fake blood, snakes, baby dolls, and magic tricks, and all kinds of different doodads and doohickeys. They definitely have that part of their show that is considered legendary and iconic and all that. But at the same time, I don't want to overlook the impact that their music has had. They've had breakthrough studio albums, they've made it on the Billboard charts and everything. Obviously, they had big success with their album Love It to Death, and their 1970 single I'm 18 reached number 21 on the Billboard Hot 100 in early 1971. The Billion Dollar Babies album is said to be when they reached their commercial peak back in 1973. And, it's hard to say when they reached their, the top point of the creative uh, achievement level. Boy, I worded that kind of funny, but oh well. Um, it's hard to say what their like greatest song is, but a lot of people might say it's Schools Out, and that's sort of an anthem. Even I'm 18 is iconic. Some people, they might like Poison, even though for me it's a bit of a cheesy tongue in cheek kind of song. It definitely wouldn't be my favorite, but some people seem to really prefer that one. No More Mr. Nice Guy is a great song, and it's probably the best song off of the Billion Dollar Babies album. And I think most people would agree that No More Mr. Nice Guy is at least a catchy song, even if it's not their favorite. And that's one thing about the band. They did know how to write songs that would be catchy And so, in that sense, they were not just a shock rock band, but they had pop sensibilities, you might say. They knew how to write songs that would uh, stay with you, perhaps. And as morbid and on the nose gothy as this would probably sound, I think "Dead Babies" is probably my favorite Alice Cooper song. Um, it's 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 a bit of a weird song to choose. I'll admit it, and hopefully it doesn't reflect too many weird things on me. But I just think the lyrics are good. I just think it's like a dark song, and I think it has a positive message in a way, although not like, I don't know if it's exactly life changing, but it does provide food for thought in a limited way. But I just like the feel of the song. Really, that's really what uh, gets me into it. Just the overall feel. It's like a creepy song, yet it's also catchy at the same time. And you know, I I gotta admit, I'm a sucker for a dark theme, really. So that's kind of why that's probably my favorite Alice Cooper tune. But you may have also seen Alice Cooper on the Muppet Show, perhaps. Where he played Welcome to My Nightmare. He's also appeared in horror movies. You might have seen him in Friday the 13th, Part 6, where, he played some of the song. Well, he didn't physically appear in that movie. I should correct that. But his music is prominent in the movie. And additionally, Alice Cooper has appeared as an actual actor in a few roles, pretty famously having his classic cameo moment in Wayne's World, but also he played a more serious, albeit silent, homeless villain character in John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. So you might want to check that movie out because that's really, to my knowledge, one of the few times he was a little bit more of a serious villainous character. I think a lot of the other times he's been involved in movies, it's either been, just either playing himself or it's been with some of his songs on the soundtrack or something like that. Um, so he's also played Freddy Krueger's abusive foster father in the much maligned Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare, which is a movie I still enjoy despite critics and fans pooping on it all the time. And it's not like Alice Cooper's like the main reason I like the movie or whatever. It's just, you know, he's just one of the elements that's like, oh, hey, that's Alice Cooper. And it's not the most popular movie, but at the same time, I don't always like what's popular. That's not how I roll. But anyway, Alice Cooper also plays a fairly significant role in the Tim Burton movie Dark Shadows. And he also appeared in the cheesy sci fi channel TV movie called Bigfoot, which, is an original title, I suppose. Just call a movie Bigfoot. But it's definitely a guilty pleasure of a movie for me. But I have to admit, I actually enjoy that one. And it does bring some shame upon me to admit that, because it's definitely not a good movie. But at the same time, it's like just a light shame. It's not a heavy coating of it. No doubt Alice Cooper has influenced tons of bands, even though he was not the first shock rocker. Some people might, accidentally believe that he was, but you had people like Screamin' Jay Hawkins, who was there before he was. And there's also a guy named Arthur Brown, who was technically around a little bit before Alice Cooper and who influenced him. And I'm sure that somewhere out there you could find some relatively obscure, band or musician who was doing stuff that was kind of shocking. But Alice Cooper is definitely one of the originals, one of the pioneers of shock rock. And I would say, obviously he influenced people like Rob Zombie and also a certain guy who merged the names of Marilyn Monroe and Charles Manson to create his own, persona and all that kind of stuff. So, very influential guy. My mom likes his music. Maybe your mom likes his music too. And really, I don't have much more to say about him. Just he's still alive right now. As far as I know, while I'm recording this. So, you know, yeah, let's let's celebrate his life and his legacy, and occasionally listen to some of his songs. It's you don't have to be ashamed of it. He's got some good songs. I think even some of his critics would agree that his songs are catchy. Just go ahead and listen to them every once in a while. It's not going to hurt you. Well, not too much anyway. Anyway, that's about it. Have a good day.